what we occasionally ask, but I don't think this is going to be a thing. It, if we ever talk to one of the breweries that I don't know, there's a couple of I wouldn't say controversies, but things like that. But my question is always: is there any
Questions?
no questions or topics that you want us to avoid? And
Ah.
the answer is usually a rather confused what.
Uh, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't,
We're all pretty open book around here, but I just wanted to.
yeah, yeah.
I try to offer that up just in case someone
Politics.
says, "Don't talk about the time that a dead skunk was found." And oh yeah, I'll gloss over that. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
I
Hasn't
mean,
happened yet. No one's got any
I
skellies
don't
in their
think we've
closet just
had
yet.
too many issues. That being said, I mean, we're not live yet, are we?
We
Yeah.
are.
Okay, well, there we go.
So let's not talk about
So
even
I
the
will
issues
watch.
that could be a problem. If I don't know about them, then nobody knows about them. That's fine. All right.
You would never know the stuff that we get back in the growlers. That's why we're very diligent about
Oh,
getting our
yeah.
growlers back.
Right.
Now, I can tell you firsthand, I'm up to um, three growler mice.
Oh,
So
living
those
creatures in
growlers
the
get
wow.
thrown in the garbage.
Mm.
They get thrown right out because it's just no.
Mm.
If mice crawl into those growlers, that's gone. Uh, you just gotta think of it yourself as like, well, that's pretty gross. I mean, yeah, some people will throw like some paper or whatever in there. No problem. But I
Spiders and
draw the
spider
line at
webs. Yeah.
It's fine.
spider webs. I mean, that washes out. For the most part. I mean, you look inside, but I'm up to three growler mice, and those growlers are definitely melted somewhere
Oh.
probably for recycling or whatever, melted down, and they're all good. But it's the same thing when I worked at Olin's, right? I worked in the bottle line for a bit, and you wouldn't believe the things people put into there. Cigarettes are a common one. The worst is when people take their bottle caps and they scrunch them, and then they throw them into the bottle.
Oh, I know
You can't
people that
wash.
do that, and I may have done that at least once in my youth.
Well, you should never do that because
Okay.
that bottle has to just get kicked off.
Okay.
You can't. We can't wash that out. Anyway,
I'm gonna I'm
suffice.
gonna
Wow.
start
Wow.
proper so we can so we're not wasting anything
Yeah.
because I know Ian's eyes lit. He's already got questions about
Yeah.
Olin's and we'll get to that. So I
Okay.
am Ross. Joining me is my co-host Ian, and tonight we are very lucky to have Rob Speers, the head brewer of Paddy's Pub, here with us, especially to talk about. And I love this. Paddy's is, and I do say this, the longest running or the what is it the now oldest still running craft brewery in Nova Scotia because Propeller tried to say that they were first, but Paddy's was actually open and brewing beer about 6 months or a year before they were.
I'm gonna say 95, and were
Yeah.
they 95 as well? But
I think they say
honestly, it was
96th, but
yeah, it was, and that was Kentville. At they were brewing in Kentville, and they moved the brewery. I think it was 2000,
mm,
2001, maybe to Wolfville. For that, and again, it's 30 years. That's a long time.
and
Uh,
that was
um,
that was one of the ones because when I ran into you, oh yeah, long story short, I met Rob. Oh man, uh, yeah, 20 years ago, I think, because my
mhm.
kids were in the scouting program and they were doing scouts in the Wolfville area, and
Yeah,
Rob was one of the volunteers. He was one of the
yeah,
volunteer
yeah,
scoutmasters, part of the same troop. So just kind of got to chat and got
yeah.
to know everybody. It's good with the kids and everything,
Mhm.
and then didn't see you around for the longest time. And then I think
Oh yeah, yeah.
you sat down at the pub, right in here at Patty's
Mhm.
on one night, and I'm just having a beer, and oh no, it was someone saying, "Oh yeah, you want to go talk to Rob?" And I'm like, "Rob? Who's Rob?" Because
Who's Rob?
we talked to
Yeah.
Chris, who was the previous
Mhm.
brewmaster, and I go up and there's Rob, who I haven't seen in something like 10 years. Like,
Mhm.
A, wow, good to see you again, and B, what are you doing here? And then
Yeah, what am I doing here?
we
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
conversation. So, and
Mhm.
this is yeah, I guess first question, what are you doing here?
So, geez, I went back to school at Acadia here, and I was studying engineering. I didn't quite finish that degree, but that's okay. Picked up most of it, and then worked for a little bit. I was making pharmaceuticals. I was making drugs for a while up at BioVectra on Charlottetown, and so that's where I was about 2017, and then that kind of wasn't working out. So Labatt was hiring. I wanted to get back to Nova Scotia, and so I started there. And so one of the first jobs you do is holds, they call it. You're basically the gopher. You mostly time you're repacking cases or checking cases for damages and that kind of stuff. So I did a lot of that.
Checking for
Or if they need
mice.
extra
It's a
bodies
long history
for,
of checking for mice.
yeah, just that kind of stuff. And then I had the opportunity to get trained on the bottle packers there, which I did. And I worked the summer on the bottle packers. They had two types of packers there. They had an end loader, which pushes the bottles in to the case, and then they had a drop packer, which picks the bottles up and then drops it into the two. That's how they package the 2-4s. And then did pretty good at that job. And my manager at the time got kind of I guess you could say promotion, or yeah, it's kind of a little lateral. And he went to the can line and he said, would you be interested in going to the can line? And that, so I ended up going to that, worked there for quite a while in packaging, 5-something years. Want a bit of a change. I tried brewing at Owens for a bit, and then I thought, I don't know if this is quite for me. I want to get back to Wolfville. And Paddy's was hiring. Paddy's was hiring an assistant brewer. Oh, geez, it would have been about a little over a year and a half ago, because it was July. I think it was July 2024 was I started at Paddy's. So they only needed assistant brewer. I was there when Chris, the previous lead brewer I prefer, because there's head brewer or master brewers. Those are the guys that I've been there in this business for a while, and I wouldn't never call myself a master brewer, and I wouldn't even if I was like doing this for 40, 50 years, because there's something new every day. But yeah, lead brewer. There's another fellow that will come in as well for that. But yeah, started at Paddy's and for that, and it's a big change going from say Olin's into to a little craft brewery like Paddy's. So many things. I mean, you're still making beer, but there's the equipment is so different, and there's a whole different mentality of everything. I look at what was I running at Olin's? I was running everything was automated for the most part, and everything ran fast, ran heavy, ran hard, and we had. I'm just trying to think. That packer did something like in the thousands of cans a minute. We have a little can packer downstairs that will do what, 3 maybe 3 cans maybe a minute,
as fast as your hands could move it, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a lot different. Plus too, the kettle there was huge, massive, size of a house. Not quite, and 400 hectoliters, I think, or something like that. It's massive, 40 or 50 times the one that we have at Paddy's. So I don't think that's a lot different for that. Plus, big breweries will do turns. They set up for the week and they keep on brewing the whole week, and they're set up so that they have everything. Okay, once we know that the beers aren't going to run into each other, right? We'll start another one right in behind the other one. At Paddy's, I don't do that. I do batches. So I'll say, okay, tomorrow's going to be a brew day. Let's get everything ready. I'll make a beer that day, and then after that, sorry, we lost a bit of light here. And then that's a little better. And then after that, I'll usually do about 2 or 3 a week, maybe for that. And so I'll just figure out what I'm getting low on and what I need to go. But anyways, I'm rambling on. You guys got questions? You guys got to ask me stuff.
we got loads, but we also have things to beverage.
Stuff to drink.
I was going to suggest the first one, the green lager here, the new Paddy's Lager. Just because we usually go from the lowest alcohol by volume to the highest, so
Okay.
It's a movement from 5.0 coming in at the lowest number just for tonight and it's also the newest one, the hardest one to get because we couldn't get this in Kentville. We had to go to all the way to
So
Wolfville from Kent.
Wolfville.
Oh my,
So
it's such a
we
walk.
just sent I think on Tuesday we sent them up cases of the
Yeah,
Paddy's Lager.
I was just trying to get ahead of
I'm
things.
Yeah, and then the Oktoberfest was last week, and this week was yeah, I was like, okay, well, we're going up on Tuesday anyway. We'll just take it up to them then. They're usually a couple of days behind us for
Now,
new beers and stuff like that.
was because if this is new, but there wasn't really a traditional Paddy's lager, was there? It,
I so there's probably been some in the past.
the cream ale is probably the closest, and everyone usually that's one of the more popular ones. Everyone says, "Oh,
Yeah,
I'll have a cream ale"
yeah,
because it tastes close
yeah,
to what they are used to as a standard
mhm,
lager.
yeah.
Where even though
Cream ale and
Keith says it's
this
an IPA.
Paddy's Lager. We've nicknamed it. Me and John Stalker, who's the kind of a assistant brewer, I guess you could say. Relief brewer is another word I like to throw around because if I can't brew that day or I don't want to brew that day, I call him and said, make sure he can come in to give me relief. But so we're big fans of the Scottish sitcom called Still Game.
Uh,
And so this one of the lines in that is there's these two old pensioners who walk into their local, and the barman always gives them a grief about something. Oh, here comes Tweedledee, Tweedledum, and you two again. You two guys are coming in, and the guy just looks at him and says, "Oh, just give us our 2 pints. Just give us our 2 pints now." So anyway, but so we thought, that's a good line, right? Give us our lager, give us our 2 pints. So for that,
now
and
you did say before we officially went live with the podcast, that you thought that there was a typo on the can, and
yes,
I think I found it
you
because
probably have.
the description on the side of the Paddy's the new
Yeah,
one, the Paddy's Lager, nicknamed the 2 pints, is our brewer wanted to make a nice light North American lager, something a bit different from our cream ale. This lager is brewed with Canadian malt and uses German, Czech, and Canadian hops. Fine,
yeah,
fair. I've cracked it open. Smells great. But at the very top, the title across the top says English Mild.
Mild.
that's it.
I know.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
got to tell you, I got really excited up until the
mm,
moment when you told me that that was a typo.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that's and the Oktoberfest says that too. I guess I'm not very good at proofreading my labels. And in fact, I don't even know when we ordered them in. I said, "Oh, it looks great." I even had to say, "Oh, you're missing a line for the descriptor for the Oktoberfest." Now that being said, Chris, the lead brewer before me, was great with can design and all kind of cool stuff. I have no experience in graphic design, and
he, he,
honestly, I'm kind of being a bit lazy, and I'm saying, well, let the beer speak for itself. In the sense of, I'm if I'm not gonna go spending 10 hours struggling
uh,
through to try and figure out a nice can design when I could say, look, I'm just gonna go
you
and let the beer speak for
you
itself.
can go that way. You could go down crazy can design. You could do the most beautiful, the
Yeah,
funky stuff, and we appreciate the funky colors and the things. They really
I imagine.
popped you
Yeah, yeah,
off the shelves and whatnot. But you also go to three. Now that I think about it, three of the biggest breweries in the province are Propeller, obviously, Nine Locks,
mm,
and Tatamagouche.
yeah,
And the only
mhm,
thing that changes is the title of the beer and maybe the font of
yeah,
maybe the color of
yeah,
the font across the front. So, I,
yeah.
while I love
There,
a really pretty, funky designed can, doesn't have to be. I don't think so.
none of us can do everything great.
Mm.
And I said, you know what, I'm going to put my energies and other things for that. And yeah, I got to have a label on there. And but I'm not going to try and do some really cool designs if I can't do it, right? I know that's not a strength of mine. So, but I'll,
You should crowdsource it. You should have little competitions and say,
yeah,
"Hey, we got a
yeah,
new beer,"
yeah,
and just put it out to the Facebook group and see what you get for submissions, and say, "You, that one wins,"
yeah.
and then they get a pint. I think that'd be all
I
right.
should talk about the beer. So, this beer and cream, kind of, I want to say, this lager started out me thinking about what can I do different. What can I do different with maybe make like a different type of lager. So There's a lot of similarities with this and cream. They use some very similar base malts, and so and they actually use the same yeast. So, and here I'll work through this. So this uses a hybrid yeast. Cream ale uses a hybrid yeast that I'm not going to give everything away, but it will function as like an ale if I have my higher temperatures and I decide I want to be an ale, or I can chill everything down and it performs pretty much like a lager. But I wanted to do experimental with that,
Hmm.
so I decided to use this yeast and try it in kind of its in that way. So it's not true. It's not a true lager. It did get lagered a lot longer than cream does, and it was me kind of thinking, all right, I have some hops that aren't like expired, but they're kind of sitting in the cellar, not doing too much. Specifically, some Canadian hops that I wanted to use for that. So normally these aren't really used in a lager. I would say a lot of IPAs. This is more of an IPA hop that I used,
Hmm.
but I decided to give it a shot, and then I always love using Holler Tower. That's what I used in the Dortmunder.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You guys have talked about that
We.
before.
Oh
Holler
yeah. We like
Tower,
that one.
yeah, I love that hop. And we have in house too. We also use a lot of chuck hops like the Saaz. We have that as well. And so I thought I'll just throw that into there too, and we'll see how that goes for that. But yeah, the 2 pints is me just kind of not going crazy, but trying something a bit new.
It has.
And
It's funny you mentioned when you the cream ale. If
mm,
you'd have put this in front of me blindfolded and I didn't read the can, and as you pointed out, probably not much point in reading the can because it's
mhm.
it's kind of sending in the wrong direction anyway. I would have said, not blowing my own trumpet, the cream ale.
Yeah.
It's got a mouthfeel. It's a kind of smoother mouthfeel than a kind of crispy lager.
That's what
It's
I.
Mhm.
it's
Yeah. I
it's
was
going.
thinking to myself,
Yeah,
if you put that in front of me, I would say, "Ooh, the cream ale's much smoother now."
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
a smooth mouthfeel, and it's yeah, it doesn't have that kind of that lagers kind of
Yeah.
traditional sort of run of the mill lagers do.
I
They have a snappiness to them, but
I
this
used to call
cream
that
ales, even though it,
I used to
well,
call that the taste that makes you drink more. So lager's specifically designed to drink copious amounts of it just to get the taste out of your mouth. And the
mm.
next mouthful always makes the previous mouthful a little bit better. So by the fifth or sixth pint of lager, you're like, this is champagne. I could drink this all night.
But the
Oh,
pilsners as well, they
Mm,
differ again. All the cream ales, the pilsners, the kolsches, the blonde ales, the lagers. To me,
a sharp
they're all
bite somewhere.
they're
It's
they're all kind of similar in the profiles and the mouth feels and the bodies to them. But some are far smoother and just a nicer drink entirely.
well,
And this is very smooth.
the color as well is a very golden color. Some lagers we get they're a little bit pale, but I would happily compare this to my game changing favorite lager that I found many years ago, and I've converted. Well, actually, no, it was converted by my brother,
You have
and I've converted so many other people into going in and buying the cases. Is from
me
Spindrift,
included.
the Toller series of
oh
lagers down there,
yes. Yeah.
and the Toller
Mm,
Gold, and it's just my go to when I want. You just want to. What'll you have? I just want something that tastes like beer but good, and the same thing. It's got a really nice mouthfeel to it, fantastic body to it,
mhm.
incredibly smooth out the back end. You're getting it. Uh, I can't tell, but I don't know how else to present it. But it almost tastes like something made with corn,
Mm.
even though it's probably
It-
not.
Conceivably, it could have had an adjunct in that. I know. I mean, in a lot of North American lagers, they, specifically, like it's right on there. Budweiser uses rice as an adjunct for extra, and
Oh,
then some of them will use corn as well as to kind of up your sugar content and as well. I mean, cream our cream ale it's slightly changed. A good brewer will make small adjustments that are imperceptible to every so often. Like I've played around with the hops a little bit, but I never play around with two things at once, and I go very, very minute with my changes. But a couple of years back, I think we were using a wheat as to give more of a mouthfeel into cream ale. We haven't for a while now. I've been playing around with the hops a little bit lately. They have changed, and now I'm looking at kind of finalizing, nailing it down what I like in that. Also, too, every so often, it's craft brewing. I have the same recipe. It's a different day though, and there's so many little things that I can do wrong in that day. Most of the time, my phone is glued to my pocket, and I'm running timers. I'm probably running about 20 timers in the run of a day for things, because it's all about the timing and setting everything up precise and then timing. That's the best you can do for that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, cream ale has definitely changes. It's not going to be static. Again, beer normally, yeah, keep it in the fridge and it's good for a while. But you go back say 20 years and our cream ale recipe, I'm sure I have the logs has changed. We've used different yeast, we've used different malt bills, probably used different hops. It's going to change.
So
People are going to say, "Oh, never change it."
Paddy's has kept a record for 20 years of the cream ale. I mean, I know this is not.
Sorry, I don't know if cream ale has been going for 20. I shouldn't throw things out, but like a beer will change over time, for sure. Right? And
I'd just
do
be
have
curious
records.
if there were the old recipes there, like if there was a small written down of this is how we made this even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we've talked to a brewery or two, and when they changed hands and they had their flagship beers, and the recipe changed, and oftentimes it was for the better, but sometimes we're like, ooh, that doesn't quite taste as the same as before. Oh, what happened? They said, well, when we changed hands and we had to get a new brewer, no one knew where the recipes were.
Yeah.
And I thought that wasn't included in the sale. Like, what?
Yeah.
Odd.
Well, again, we keep records, right?
Which is great. Yes.
Legal records we have to keep as well about things like, okay, how much beer are you making? How much malt do you have in the building? That's another one. And excise taxes, right? The alcohol tax, right? We have to pay those.
Still, I didn't realize that there was
as well. So you have to say, and ultimately too, like this is, I'm not when that can says 5%. I'm brewing it. I want it to be 5%, but I don't have the exact precise amount of reading where, and to get right down to it. I'm going to make a guess that it's probably 4.8 to 5.1, that kind of thing.
We learned something at one point, maybe it was a couple of years ago, that across craft beer in Nova Scotia, it's probably further than that, but within Nova Scotia, if you read a percentage on the can, it's a plus or minus of 0.5.
Yes.
So this could be a 4.5 and it could be a 5.5.
Yeah, we have to pretty much, and it's more for, the taxes and for the consumer, right? I mean, I want to know if I'm drinking a 4% beer or if I'm drinking a 6% beer. Well, it's going to affect me differently.
I'll also say, here's another thing that I highly appreciate, and this will continue my campaign to Ian about what a correct percentage is a brewer wanted to make a nice light North American lager, and it's 5.0.
Well, light in terms of flavor,
Okay.
I didn't want to go too heavy. That's, I guess, light being, because that is a legal definition. Light beer is what, 4% and below. Beer can be, I think it's above that. And then if it's strong beer is over 5.5 or 6%.
I think at 6.0, you have to say strong beer on the can.
Strong beer if it's 6%. Yeah.
I've seen it on lower though. I've seen it on a 5.6 before, I think. Recently.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's it.
We've had a few of these.
There's and then there's plenty of things too. I remember in Quebec they do a Labatt Blue that's 4.9%. It's brewed to 4.9% alcohol, and which is okay. Why? I think there's something to do with that. But for us, I go in there. I'm intending to make a 5% beer. I, when I knock out my kettle, I'm at the right degree Plato for my sugar. Then I ferment, and then I have a range where, okay, it's pretty much there now, usually around anywhere from 1.5, well, 1.7 to 2 point something. I think it's like around. And then, these are all, you're measuring your density, and you're making some assumptions that, okay, well, most of it's sugar, negligible amount of other stuff. For that, and temperature does play a big part of that as well, so you want to make sure you're within, so when I measure that, I've got in order, first of all, not to break the instrument, I got to chill that down, so I have a little metal cup that I swirl around an ice bath to chill all that off. And then most people will use, say, refractometers, that measure refractive index of the liquid, and that'll correspond to, they have charts for that. Or they'll use a hydrometer, where it's the floaty thing, it floats in the liquid, and then it has graduations for it. Or some fancier ones are DMA meters, that they'll send that through, and they're a little more fancy as well. So, but for the
Are you
most
picking
part,
up on all these sciencey words, Ross?
anyway, sorry, yeah.
I know what a hydrometer is. I do that for my homebrew thing, but I am definitely Googling refractometer, and the results are not helping. So,
anyway,
going beyond that.
Yeah. So Paddy's Lager, I was doing something a bit different. If it's I always, when you come up with a new feature, I always get a little concerned, because it's like, okay, what if it doesn't sell? I've got this whole batch of this that nobody likes, or it's going to be sticking around for forever.
I would say lagers don't excite me, Rob, typically. Okay.
Nope. Yeah.
And I have struggled to pin. I've struggled to latch onto anything in a lager.
Mm-hmm.
With certain craft ales and certain styles of craft ales, quite often, of course, the cans will say it has this and it has that. We've given it a little bit of this and a note of this and a hint of that, etc. And you can latch onto it. With lagers, I find they tend to be kind of nondescript. They just taste like, and I hate to say this, they just taste like beer. And of course, beer has a million different flavors. But to me, it's beer flavored lagers typically. And that's the greatest selling beer in the world, of course, being Budweiser, even though 400 million Americans swear by it.
I think that's it.
I just think it just tastes like beer.
It's introductory. It's almost the first beer you get exposed to.
But the same could be said of, and you picked it up, Toll of Gold. There's nothing I can hang my hat on and say, oh my God, I love that because I love the hint of, or the smack of, or whatever it is. There's just something about it when you introduce it to me. And I thought, it's so smooth. It's so easy and kind of creamy. There's a nice mouthfeel to it. It's beer flavored, but this kind of does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's beer flavored, but it's much better beer flavored than a lot of lagers are. It's a nicer drink.
It's still, it's still that hybrid ale, the hybrid lager ale yeast. So, I mean,
is it a true lager?
Am I cheating? I mean, it's a hybrid yeast strain. For that, I think I can call it a lager. I treated it like one, and I used a yeast strain that behaves like one. So
I'm going to accept that
ale.
It's acceptable cheating. I mean, if you were cheating in the way that this is stolen from someone else's recipe and I didn't give them the credit for it, yes, that's the bad kind of cheating. But cheating in this way, making something taste a little bit better than it otherwise would, I'm fine with that.
And it's a hybrid, right? It's a hybridized whatever they did with that. But that was something a bit different I wanted to try. I don't know if we'll see that again. Who knows, right?
Oh, that's too bad. I would hope that would become a flagship. I think, honestly, replace the cream man.
I've got to get more. I've always viewed myself as I'm a brewer, but a brewer's only really going to keep brewing if the people are drinking the beer and they're liking the beer. So I try not to make. I mean, I've got a lot of room, lateral room to go. Kind of where I want in some ways. If I want to do this feature, I want to do that feature. If I want to change up something just like that. But ultimately, I very much and Kentville, I don't get up there enough, but Wolfville, I put a little box in the corner of the bar. And I try to tell people, hey, if you have a real strong suggestion, I get enough of these. I want to know what people want. That being said, it's backfired sometimes because everybody wants sours, and I don't really want to do a sour. So, but I have had people ask about, oh, remember we had this beer a couple years back. Do you still have the recipe for that? Or I said, well, I can probably look it up and do something similar to that.
Yep.
Actually. But really, the features are there. When the beer's gone, I'll put something back in there, try something different. That I did a red ale back in the spring, and it was pretty darn good. And that was for 30 years of brewing at Paddy's. So I thought, okay, well, that's a second batch. That's getting a second batch for sure. That was a winner. That worked out nicely.
So this
and,
you've only just this is only canned in the last week or so, you say?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So obviously, you've got no data. To go
Not a
on.
lot of feedback, I guess.
Not really. I can totally imagine this being a really good seller, because it's kind of it's not going to put anyone off. It doesn't have some crazy flavor that
it's easy to drink.
My God, have you tried that?
Yeah.
It's very easy to drink, so it's going to appeal to a broader range of people, I'm sure, that just like, as I said before, a beer rather than, I want to go for a seasonal ale or a red or a stout or something, or an IPA, as we're going to get to. But someone that just wants and there's plenty of people that just want to have a beer, and this is easy to drink. It's very smooth. It's got no aftertaste to it. It's just really bloody good.
I was pretty lucky. There's a big defect in lagers that you guys probably know about, right? I mean, you can get into diacetyl, right?
I have read that. Why do I know that word?
Okay.
So diacetyl is a well, I would say it's a defect. I don't want it in the beer, right? If I intend to have it in there, yeah, okay. But you can get that, and a lot of beers, lagers, and sometimes ales can. It's tough to catch that. And we're very sensitive, our tongues, to that. Diacetyl can be a very easy one for us to pick up. Again, it's kind of a butteriness to it. So if you're not trying to have this flavor in there, but your yeast will work away at getting rid of it. And then certain yeasts will behave differently than others. And if you rush something, that's a big one too. If you rush the fermentation, that seems to. But I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm no expert, by the way, but of all this kind of stuff. But you as a brewer, you kind of have to be a little bit aware of, okay, you really do have to let your mouth guide you sometimes, where it's about trying it out. It's like, oh, okay, what's happening here? What can I do? What did I do not the right way? And sometimes specifically, you need to rest it. Sometimes beers will be more frequently for get diacetyl. You think, oh, it's just about done. And then you say, oh, maybe not. Let's see if we can give it another day, and hopefully this clears up. And a lot of it too is, once you pitch that yeast in, it's in their hands. You can do some things. You can control the temperature. You can tell them to turn off. Right? You can. That's really what you do. And there's some other little tricks here and there, but it's still very much.
You mentioned preferring to be a lead brewer than a head brewer, and you didn't want to be like, even after 40 years of brewer, you wouldn't be a master brewer. But I can tell you, 40 years from now, and even a master brewer up age 50, 60, 70 years old is probably doing that same thing, pitching the yeast and then going, oh, I hope this turns out.
Yeah, I really do. Sometimes you're just thinking, okay, you throw the yeast in, and you think, okay, try not to, again, people talk about, okay, brewers, it must be exciting, great job, and it's like, okay, I'm either working in 33-degree, room right next to a boiling hot kettle with, I've got valves everywhere under pressure. That if I don't watch what I'm doing, I can open those and
You're
everything's
like in a
trying to
World
kill
War
me.
II submarine off of
And
Iwo Jima.
or downstairs where I'm, working in 3 Celsius, or 4 Celsius, freezing my hands off, open up cold metal valves. So there's, and then
Glamorous.
most of my job actually is cleaning. My job is mostly cleaning and flipping switches. That's the most of it right
Well,
there. And you think, oh, you get to design stuff, you get to come up with creative things. I rarely get to come up with, like, today I'm coming up with a new beer, a new future beer. We're looking at doing some kind of a porter, actually. That'll be probably our next beer on tap, I'm thinking, if things go well. But yeah, for the most part, it's
Get in for that.
it can be, but for the most part, yeah, it's most of my time is cleaning. Most of my time is cleaning.
Are the write-ups your words?
Yes, I did those descriptors.
Okay.
So we can move on. Yeah, we should move on to another.
So
beer.
our next English mild, our second English mild is this one. That's it. That's all I'm going to make fun of you for. Is the Octoberfest Lager, ringing in at 6.0%. There in the orangey can. And it do saith on the side of it, using German and Czech hops. This is Paddy's fall feature beer, traditionally released in late September and historically brewed to celebrate a royal wedding in 1810. This beer is generally amber in color and has a medium malty body.
Ooh, that should be exciting. I'm excited by this.
I think we had a little
you
bit
can
of this
kind
in the
of
pub.
in German they're called Märzens. If I'm getting that right.
Yes,
I took German.
with the R.
Yeah.
With the Z.
I took German years and years ago, probably 20 years ago, and I've forgotten most of it. But Vienna lagers are similar, and Oktoberfests are basically that's what they are. They're all kind of all in the same groupings together with things. And this is Oktoberfest, and Bavaria is to celebrate a traditional wedding between, I think it was the Crown Prince of. And then the Crown Prince wed somebody in I think it was a princess in Bohemia. But anyway, and they've been doing that for forever. But yeah, you okay?
I did not realize that. So it was originated 1810 yet, and it was the Crown Prince Ludwig of Bavaria, later King Louis I, and Princess Therese von. Oh, here we go. Sachsen-Hildburghausen.
Yeah, and they wanted to have a big festival for their wedding, and I think that was late September. And
does it? I was going to say, does it say on there, Ross, why Oktoberfests are actually all in September?
Because
in Bavaria or in Germany themselves, does it say there why? Rather than what would obviously be.
No, but yeah, this has always been my issue. Because everyone, I say that to my friend, to my buddy Ian Smith, who is providing me with this delightful glass from Tapestry Beer Bar down at, actually it's the Sac Vegas Brew Company, but still, same thing. And he talks about, are you coming down to Oktoberfest? And I check my watch, and I say, dude, it's September, 15th. So I'm not ready for Oktoberfest yet. He says, oh, no, it's a big Oktoberfest. All the festivals are in September.
They are in September.
Well, then why do they call it Oktoberfest? And so the answer is no. I have not found an answer to that just yet.
The wedding, I think, was like happening in late September, and then people were all partying, I think, or celebrating well into October, I think it was.
That might be it. It might be late September, but that might also explain why people put their Christmas decorations up in beginning of November. So.
It says the wedding was the 12th of October. What are we doing? I don't understand what we're doing. Is this the same kind of thing of why we have our Thanksgiving in Canada? Because we're more northern, we have to have it a month earlier than in the States?
So for that beer, I really liked Paddy's. I can make lagers. I can't make them that often, though. So I'm set up for the ability to do them. I have all the things that I need, but I don't have the space. A proper lager, I mean, I wouldn't call it a lager unless it had at least a month, if not 6 weeks, if not 2 months. And Märzens, that kind of style, they make it in March, and they lager over the summer. They used to lager it in cool caves or whatever. So, but honestly, if you have a proper lager, you got to give it the time to do its thing, right? So I can do that, but I don't have the tank space for it. That's why. And it just happened to be that lately I've been trying to branch out, and I thought, oh, I'd love to do a couple of these. So for that, I used a pretty ubiquitous German yeast. I'm not going to reveal everything, but it's used in a lot of lagers. It's a very unique strain of yeast that a number of different companies kind of use as well. They have their own different name for it, but it's a pretty ubiquitous one, Southern German yeast strain for that. It's the same one I used in Dortmunder that I made back in the spring.
Yep. I love
It's
that.
really quite sweet, isn't it?
That's
It's really sweet. Rebecca picked up. She said it was like barley sugar, and I was like, well, I know I was getting sort of like a caramelly, almost like what some of the reds, that some of the darker reds have going on. But it's really quite sweet, but very malty, but not thick. It's just it's warm. It's warming.
Love the color too.
Warming.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's an amber. Yeah, it's lovely.
I think
didn't have much of a didn't have a. I noticed that about the head. Maybe it's maybe it's the cans or the glasses. I was hoping for a little bit of head from both of them, but
mine didn't really fizz up either. Happens.
Again, the mouthfeel and the body of it, it's still got that even smoother than the other lager. To be honest, this is a richer experience. I mean, I know it is a % stronger as well, so it's probably got a little bit of a bit more backbone to it, but it's really smooth again.
I forgot
full of
about
flavour, sweet and malty. And this is the kind of stuff, by the way, Rob, that prior to me falling in love with juicy IPAs a couple of years ago, Ross and I were very late to the party, but this was my thing. I loved malty, syrupy, thick, dark beers, English and Scottish style ales.
I didn't think the English mild was a typo at first, because I was like, okay, you could pigeon,
but I still love them.
stuff that pigeon in a hole.
I really do. Yeah,
now that being said, I have made an English mild, and I've been reluctant to can it because I'm really not happy in the least with it. I think it's a dud. I'm not. I was hoping for a lot better, but that being said, it was my attempt, and I knew what I did wrong with it, for that. So
I had a pint of it the other night, and I thought it was fine. What were you looking for?
I've been told, and I agree, it tastes a little watery. And it tastes way too much like just raisins. Raisins. It just tastes like raisins to me. I was really hoping for a lot more kind of punch when it comes to maybe some chocolate,
like a complexity of a mix of flavors, I guess.
And it just, I missed it. I'm tasting it as it's fermenting up there, and I am in tears, crying because it was unbelievable, the taste that I was getting, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. And then all of a sudden, the next day, it's gone. It's just disappeared. It just
wow.
Well, the flavors are gone. So those chocolate biscuits you'd be able to get, the wafer biscuits. Like in Australia they have Tim Tams, and then we used to have those little cheap. They were like fingers, and they were like that little chocolate in the center, and then they'd be like the little wafer cookies. I don't know. Anyway, it tasted like that. Not a Kit Kat. But it tasted almost
Cadbury
like a
fingers? No. Pirelli? No, that's not quite right.
While you're looking that up, Rob, I mentioned it, like the Reds, and this actually, the more I'm drinking it now, I was thinking to myself, I almost recognise the flavour, and I know it's not a red ale as such, but of course there's definitely some crossover going on here. I do drink the Garrison Red quite a bit at the Oak and Barrel in Greenwood. And it's got the same caramelly backbone that this one has. And it's the same body. It's the same mouthfeel. It's very, very similar.
You drink a
it's
red.
Almost like... Yeah, I know. I'm not usually a man... that's why
you don't like reds and you don't like lagers, and now you're waxing poetic about reds and lagers.
I don't think I've ever said I don't like reds. They just don't excite me typically. But
Right.
the Garrison Red does, because it has a really caramelly a strain to it. There's usually a caramelly and sweetness to a red, but this one is so pronounced, and I think it's the best red I've had recently. And I drink it every time I go there. This is very similar in its flavor profile.
I would say there's similarities.
I don't have the recipe or anything, but sometimes you just think, okay, is this, you don't want to go overboard with some things, and then sometimes you can underboard with some things. So the malt bill is usually, there's some pretty good guidelines. People will say, oh, do this, do that. For the most part, kind of where you're going for some things. There's some little tricks you could do sometimes too, depending upon when you do your mash, if you lauter differently as well. I seem to be for me, it's I've lucked out a lot of times, but maybe it's not luck if you keep on
eventually
doing well, right? You keep on saying, "Oh, I was lucky this time. I was lucky this time." Is like, okay, that's been the same time for like 7 times, so maybe it's not luck. Maybe you know what you're doing, right? But hey, it is one of those things where you're still just okay, follow the process. Come in there and try to do everything. Don't get distracted. I'm usually the guy that's and at least how we do brewing at Paddy's, most of my work is at the start and right kind of in the middle of the shift, and then at the very end. There's just 3 or 4 distinct periods of, this is a lot of work that I got to cram into 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And once I'm done that, I just got to kind of monitor things and try to find, and that. But, first thing in the morning, then right after lunch, I usually end up, having to get rid of my spent grain. That's kind of how I do it here. And then at the very end of the day, I got to clean up the kettle. So those are all hopefully just sweat. Hopefully no blood, no tears. But those are usually the big times for that. And
I feel a bit bad, Rob, because I'm noticing. Actually, I noticed a little while ago. You don't have a beverage yourself. Did I not?
Oh yeah.
Did I not invite you to that? I feel terrible that I did not invite you.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say exactly the same thing at the same time as you noticed. Yes.
Well, I've got an Octoberfest here, so yeah. You have a glass, I think. Let's see if I can find one.
Do you what? But I thought, I was like, did I forget to tell Rob that we were going to be, sharing this, sitting there having absolutely nothing, dry mouth, smacking as we talk about all these delicious beers. Poor guy.
This one is delicious, by the way. I'm really enjoying it.
This is
a lot.
Oh, it's very
this
nice.
was a real nice one.
I
just wish it would have a little bit of a creamy head of some description.
A little fizz.
You know what? I'm okay that it doesn't, because it tastes so bloody good. It's
so
really
if I
nice.
do a little bit next time, I don't think I add a wheat to this. Wheat can sometimes really help with that. Maybe I'll do a bit of wheat if I do this one again. For that, if you add just a little bit of wheat in the mash, you can get that kind of a smoothiness, and you can get a little bit
next August, right in time for Oktoberfest.
Well, again, what I'll probably end up doing, I probably will end up doing, I'll say, okay, if you guys really want me to make, is people in Paddy's and Kentville, they're always asking, pumpkin ale, we want the pumpkin ale back. And I was like, well, I really wasn't the one that brewed that. I do have broad strokes on how it was done. But that being said, I really don't want to do it. But if the people are speak, I'll do it. And if they promise to drink it, so it's not sitting around in January, then I probably will. But what I'll end up doing is I'll say, okay, you've got some choices here. I'm not going to do all of them, but I've got the Oktoberfest. I could probably do a pumpkin, or I could do. Chris did a really cool s'mores, and I could do something in the same vein, something like that, like a chocolate border kind of thing, if people really want that. And I'll say, put it out to you folks. Maybe this is what I'm thinking next year, but who knows? Maybe I'll do something different. Maybe I'll find something else to do. But I am kind of. I'm usually pretty open to saying, okay, if you want this, and if enough of you want this, and you'll drink it, and then I'll go ahead and do that. With some exceptions, I really don't want to make a sour. I just don't want to do it.
My
I'm
wife
intimidated.
loudly requests a sour from everywhere, and
Just very intimidated by doing a sour. I'd probably sooner probably do like an imperial stout, which is that was an interesting one. That was what we had. That thing, our mash tun, it was within a half inch when Chris made the imperial stout. It was about a half inch to the top. Just the malt bill was insane on that. It was because again, imperial stout. I think it was to 9% alcohol, so you need to have I think it's 20 Plato, which the malt bill for that was astronomical. We just kept having to lug up bags of malt to do that.
we've still got 2 cans of that.
You should have that soon because again, if it's been sealed, sure, but even beer sealed cold,
Well,
I mean, you don't want to have it go wrong.
we assume the higher percentage ones hold longer. And we've read, and there are some people, and they say, "Oh, I've been holding on to this, this whiskey aged, 11% imperial
Barrel-aged,
whatnot for 2 years, and it's going to be really tasty next year." And I think I'm not going to hang on that long, but yeah, okay, I get it.
I mean, yeah, wine, but wine and beer have a very different mentality, right? I mean, the sense of, this is probably gonna get me not in trouble, but certainly people might say, but there is, let's say, there's a book that I haven't read the full thing of it, but I think it talks a lot about this by Charlie Bamforth. It's called Grape versus Grain. My dad talks about that sometimes to me, but I think he's read it. But I guess the gist of it is that, yeah, okay, they're two separately different mentalities for making an alcoholic beverage, right? And they're both ancient traditions, this kind of stuff, and that. But brewing really is one of those things where you're expected to replicate it every time with minimal disruptions or minimal changes. Oh, you could do that again, no problem. Variations, yes. Sorry, searching for words here, but yeah, with I hate to say that, but if you're a winemaker, you can you have a bit of some more leeway.
They get excited about things like that. They say, "Oh, is that the 2024 Zinfandel or the 2023 Zinfandel?" And everyone knows, the difference. And you can even just describe it. Once you say a year, someone will say, "Oh, I really liked that one."
So
no one says that about beer.
Barley harvest was bad this year, so or the hop harvest was bad this year. No, I can adapt to it, right? But, I can't really blame the barley on, like some vintners can blame the grapes,
No, but
that, and there's
water
a
table,
lot of complexity.
What I don't really understand is how no one, well, and we've heard this from a number of people, we're giving the yeast the credit that it's due, because it is kind of a living organism.
Oh yeah.
And you say, "All right, I'll just pitch this yeast," and you're like, "Well, okay, that's sort of like saying, I'm gonna throw this angry badger at that pile of corn over there, and it's gonna fall about and eat in the exact same pattern as if I throw another angry badger at the same size of pile of corn the next day. And it looks a little different. Everyone's gonna go, huh."
I mean, you look at again, Paddy's been doing this for a while. I'm in a long lineage of people brewing at Paddy's. The recipes have been really worked on. For that. And the setup that I have is okay. I know my equipment. I know what gives me trouble, what doesn't. I know what performs, and ultimately, as long as you got your recipes in there. You make adjustments when you need to, and you still have that passion in there, for brewing. And I often say, at any job really, but I think brewing it really, really matters. Is there's not, oh, people talk about bringing your A game. Well, there's more than one A game. There's two. Every day you got to be ready to have the right attitude to come in and make a beer. Because it's if you're not with it, and you're not ready for it, then it's not going to be you're not going to produce good beer if you have the wrong attitude. Right on our mash tun, we have an old sticker, and it actually serves as a bit of a marking for when to do our lautering, or Vorlauf or recycle. But it says, "Today I'll make good beer." I'll make great beer, actually, not good beer. I'll make great beer. And every time I look at that, it says, "Yeah, today I'm going to make some great beer. No matter what's going on, how many problems I've had, I'm going to make some great beer." And so there's that. And this is a really big there's a lot of adaptability you have to do, right? Like part of the reason why I was a little late to get into the lobby to log on and sort out the technical details with you earlier, Ross, was I had to stop by the pub and make sure that the cream ale wasn't foaming up on me. So one of the bartenders was saying, it's not pouring. I was like, okay, well, I can come over and take a look. And
That's good.
And that's the thing. And that cellaring, oh my goodness, that's a whole new. You could spend hours talking about that, but it's a very fine tune to get that right, so that you're pouring out beer and it's not foaming, and you're getting a good head on the beer, and you're not just creating a whole glass of foam. That can be very, very finicky sometimes. It requires temperature, the right CO2 pressure, the right equilibrium CO2. Depends upon the beer as well, but ultimately it's really just getting that ever so slightly balanced right. And I good on the bartenders for putting up with me, because I'm like, I'm sorry, I this is what I can do, or it won't. I'm working on this, but it won't be ready. I can take some of the CO2 out. I can put it back in to make sure it's all good for pouring, right? But and then there's a lot of skills in this job. I mean, brewing is much different than working in the cellars, working packaging, and then coming up with recipes.
We always say things like that. Oh, it always comes down to chemistry, and it's easy. It's just chemistry. And oh my God, chemistry was I did okay in like math and sciences and everything, but when it came to chemistry class, I thought, this is the one science that I think I don't. Nope, I can't do this one.
We have. Ross, coming back to the aging, just about how long you keep the beers in the fridge for. Typically, Rob, whenever we have a guest like yourself, and we've had maybe a dozen or so now over the sort of 3 or 4 years, 4 or 5 years. Bloody, is it 5 years? This has been. We will get the cans like that week, because of course, often it's a recommendation by yourselves as what to get. So therefore, they get pushed right to the front of the pack, and all the other stuff, of course, gets pushed back further back in the annals. Now the thing is, we've probably got 50 or 60 beers sitting there in the fridge, and if we do maybe 2 or 3 a week, you do the maths. So quite often we've got beers that we picked up at least a year ago, maybe 18 months ago. It happens, Ross, and maybe we've had down the years now, maybe half a dozen, maybe 6 or 8 cans in all that time when we've said, this doesn't taste good at all. And of course, checking then on the base of the can or whatever, we found out that, they are a couple of years old.
We held on a little too long.
A little bit too long. There is probably a really fine line between this is still okay, it's still okay, now it's not. Yeah. And then you get that flavor that comes with beer that's just gone. And it's a real shame, because some of the times it's from places that unfortunately in the meantime have closed the doors, and we've still got these old cans that are these really sad old cans that we thought, wouldn't it be lovely to give them a proper send off? And bugger me, they've already gone because we've kind of clung on to them too long.
I mean, a lot of craft brewers, right? I mean, I don't filter. I clarify.
Yeah.
And some other breweries will filter and they'll pasteurize as well. And if you pasteurize, you're you
You might get
you are gonna adjust the flavor a little bit because you're
right.
heating that, right? But you are going to be giving that a lot longer of a shelf
Extend
life.
it.
And
Yes.
there's it's a logarithmic graph. I think it was, I can't remember who did it. But showing that, okay, at these temperatures, even a pasteurized beer, no, you don't, it's going to go, it's not going to like kill you, but it's not going to taste good, right? All
Yeah.
the stuff's going to happen to it. Versus,
Yeah.
best thing you could do is, okay, can, because that's a double hermetic seal, and keep that in the fridge, right? Probably the worst thing you could do is, have that in a bottle, a clear glass bottle, like not even green or brown,
Not
just a
even
clear
green.
glass bottle under a light, and at room temperature or 30 degrees.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's going to be awful for that. And I mean crowns too, like the bottle
Really
caps,
need
right?
to stop
They're pretty
keeping
good.
all my beers
yes.
right next to the fish tank. Okay, well there we
Yeah.
go. That's I open the cans and I pour them into clear like Corona bottles. I recycle my Corona bottles so they're nice and clear, and I don't even wash out the Corona at the bottom of it. I only drink about half of those, and then just fill it
Lovely.
up with another craft beer. Try to just
Any beer
ease a
that
cap
goes in
onto it and leave it right there next to the fish tank
plain glass,
under the
any
UV
beer.
light.
Not singling out anybody that does that. You're going to get oxidation.
You're not, and we're not to totally shame, but you're not getting the full flavor experience out of your beer. Oh, we haven't even talked about temperature yet, but that is like serving temperature. But that is a question for our third one. So we have the TBA Juicy IPA, which, to be honest, when it first came out, when it was first released, I did try it in the pub, and I was not a big fan. And then after speaking with Chris said that he made some adjustments to this recipe, and we became fans of this one. So on the side of the can, this is the only one that's not an English mild. It does say pure liquid gold. Now it's my last joke about the English mild. Okay,
Yes.
pure liquid gold for all you hop heads. The TBA is a modern take of the classic IPA with dominant, juicy, fruity, grapefruity hop notes balanced by a perfect lingering bitterness.
Look at the head.
Over in the fridge, but I don't have it. I don't have it in front of me here.
Oh, I mean, take a walk. Go get your beer. We'll happily wait and pause.
Smell it. Just smell it.
Oh, I've smelled it. So that that's about what I think. There's 4 different hops that go into that one. 4 different hops. The malt bill's not. It's really okay. I'm doing it there again. I do have that nice little head on the beer, so I do need to make sure that the malt bill is going to allow me to do that. But really, it's the hops for that guy. And some beers, I will pour a little bit of the bag in. TBA, I just don't stop. I just keep on pouring the bag. I use, I just keep on filling buckets of hops. That's why it costs more, because I use so much hops in it. Every time I look in my cellar and I look at my hop bill or what I have for hops, I'm like, oh, looks like I need to order more hops for TBA again. Pretty much all the time. So for that, and it's an interesting one to do. It's actually I'm making that probably this week. I'm running a little low, so I'll probably make that one on Saturday, I think. But every time I do that, it's I always know, okay, this is one of those. Get a good night's sleep. Have maybe a third cup of coffee that day. Make sure you're ready, because it can be a long one. Chris used to say, "Oh, I don't know why you're fretting so much about TBA." It's like, well, because it's a big beer. It's demanding. There's a lot of technical challenges that the other ones. You can't go on cruise control making TBA. Like I could say for blueberry or cream, but
there's a high turnover as well, right? It sells. This stuff sells.
It does. It's a very popular beer, and
you can't mess that up.
No.
Is there another IPA right now?
We don't. We make AVA, Valley Ale, which is more of an English bitter. but it's kind of an IPA, English bitter, kind of both ish. TBA is
Right.
sorry, you know,
it's the full on here it is. This is
experience.
this
Yeah,
the popular north well East Coasty kind of north. I
It
don't know
is, but
the
but
craft
there's a
brew.
really
Here, have
there's a
this.
dry finish to this.
It is.
You
It's
get that?
yeah. We
A
used
real
to
dryness.
we hated IPAs. We would always talk about the fact that it was it's a mouthful of hops. You could floss your teeth with the leaves. There's so much
yeah,
in here, and mostly because every time there was yes, it was an IPA flavored thing, but then the tail end of it, it would just you had
yeah.
to pucker your mouth for the
Yeah.
finish on it, and I don't know
So
what happened, but they smoothed them out.
there's techniques and that you could use, and the hops as well, right? You got to really be good about choosing which hops and what ones work well together. Which I have to say, I didn't do that. I just, that's the recipe. I can
Mm.
tinker with it, play with it, adjust some little things here and there. But I mean, once you got something pretty good, you don't want to make too many adjustments to it.
No, it's true.
I
So,
wouldn't mess with that too much. What I would say is, even though it's a big, juicy, hazy thing, it's also got a Westy feel to it as well. It's got more of uh, uh,
ooh, you
okay, I'll call it
say
then.
that.
I'll call it mid can. I do. I'm getting a dryness, more of that West Coast pininess at the back end that I don't get on some of the big the big New England
But it's
hazy
so
IPAs.
smooth and malt balanced, which gives it a more
I
New England
agree with
style
you,
to me. So I feel like
but it
it's
does have
definitely
this.
more of a New England style. You're getting a
Agreed,
West
but it
Coast
has a
flavor. Okay.
back end. Yeah, I really like a latent right at the end. It's kind of
It's so
ooh,
late, I'm not
there it
even
is.
getting it. Rob,
There it is.
while we
Yeah.
squeal about this, why don't you grab yourself another beer out of the fridge and we'll fill the gap.
I'm okay. I'm
You
okay right
sure?
now.
Okay.
I got the Oktoberfest here to still kind of sip on, and I've had. I mean, TBA. I mean, I try
Right.
my beers. I know when I'm finding something that this doesn't quite taste right. For Valley, I remember one time really did something. I thought, oh God, I can taste that I messed up. And there are some pretty pretty big fans of Annapolis Valley Ale
Oh
AVA
yeah.
that we have, and I thought, oh, for sure they're going to kill me over this one. And one of the hops, it's again one of the ones that gives you that really pininess to it. And I
Yeah.
thought, when I was going to add the hops to it, I thought it slipped. And I added like twice as much as I was supposed to. And I thought, you can't just scoop it out,
No.
it's in there now. So for that, but TBA. One time somebody says, "Oh, I don't know how people can drink that." It's like, well, because it's if you close your eyes. Somebody said one time, is it close your eyes and actually, it was a guy that used to do a bit of packaging here at Paddy's. His name is Lenny, and I think Lenny said one time, maybe it was one of the old brewers back in the day. He said, "Close your eyes and imagine you're not drinking beer. Imagine you're drinking grapefruit juice."
That
And
that changed things for us
mhm.
because when something for me it was the lack of that. And Ian has slowly moved into this whole West Coast piney flavor, but I still don't like the pine flavor. So when someone introduced me to a New England IPA or even the black IPAs, and I said, "Oh, you're getting rid of that awful
Yeah,
bite on the back," and that's why I also don't really like the sours. But
mm,
this one, the change in this one made it it felt like a more approachable malty New England malt forward New England IPA, which was even more ridiculous because Chris admitted to being a West Coast boy himself, and
oh yeah,
all he wanted to do was make West Coast IPAs, and he kept
yeah.
thinking, I don't think they're going to be as popular around here. I'm like, dude, you're like
So
7 years too late around here.
funny. I mean, Chris taught me a lot about craft brewing. I mean, I knew stuff about brewing coming into this, but that was from a bigger perspective, right?
Olin.
And but he taught me a heck of a lot. But we're very different brewers. Again, he was always the hop guy, right? He was always a bit of a hop head, always wanted to do that kind of stuff. And I'm not that adventurous when it comes to a lot of that kind of stuff. And I'm just good with, okay, let's get a nice, like a red ale. I think I nailed that one pretty good. And that was, nice, a nice good ale.
The Dortmunder was solid.
Dortmunder,
it was solid. This Octoberfest and the Paddy's Lager here,
yeah.
solid
So
beers.
Chris,
They just feel like you could build a house on top of them. They're so structured.
And for that, I said Chris was, this time last year, it was saying a little bit earlier actually. I was saying, okay, we're gonna have a tap coming up soon. We're gonna be out of a feature. What do you want to make? What would you suggest? And I said, well, I really want to make a German lager, a Dortmunder, right? Which is not a Helles. It's not a Pilsner.
Nope.
It's and Pilsners, German Pilsners are not actual like Czech Pilsners, right? I mean, and a lot of that is the malt, the yeast, but I think a heck of a lot of that, and not a lot of, and you can. It's possible to change these things, but the water really does make a huge difference. If you have your water chemistry off, you're going to be, and that's just a whole new minefield right there. About okay, if you have the wrong salts in, if you have the wrong pH, it's just a huge minefield in there with that. But the water they have in the Czech Republic, in the town of Pilsen, is the softest water you could possibly think of. It's the most beautiful water for making that kind of lager. And the lager is that because of the water, right? For the most part. And I don't have really the capability to make soft water. And I can add salts to where I need to, but you can have whole setups where it's designed just to make, the softest water you could possibly imagine, reverse osmosis, distilled, goodness, all kinds of stuff. But ideally, when you look at our water profile here, it's not, in Wolfville, I can do a lot with it, but I can't do everything really good. Like, those super nice, crisp lagers. I can't.
No,
I don't think I.
This isn't it's not a humble brag or anything like that, but I just decided that instead of using my own, because I've got a homebrew kit and this and that, and it says, oh, go and get water. So I've got a camping thing that I go out and I get 20 liters, but I go to one of the springs. There's a Gasborough spring and then there's one out New Ross way. So I usually go out and fill that just straight from the spring up in Gasborough, because I only need 20 liters.
Yes, yeah, you only need 20 liters.
You'd be there all day if you were trying to.
A lot more, and that being said, I mean, I use filtered and I adjust my water. I'm not a novice when it comes to, water chemistry and that kind of stuff. It is one of those things where, okay, if you're going to do those really crisp lagers, then you better have the right malt, you better have the good water chemistry, you better really know how your yeast work, and for that, and it's easy to get the yeasts and it's easy to get the yeast and the hops in, but if I wanted to get my malt, aside from a couple of specialties, it's all Canadian malt that I use. Aside from a couple of bags of specialty stuff that could be, say, actually, I should say I do use some English malt for a couple of beers that I can get in, which is more expensive, but I want to use it for some things. But Fuggles is a hop.
Goldings.
Yeah,
Goldings
is a hop. And but it's for the malt is and that's a whole another thing right there too, right? Is the guys who spend their years, guys and gals, everybody who spends their years studying malt chemistry
malts. I'm sorry, yes.
And the malt biology and physiology and that kind of stuff. They're like what was it? They can be so quick with, that's right. That was a cross between these two varieties, and that came out in 86, 85.
Oh man,
They decided to do that. And it's like, what? It's like, and then,
grain nerds.
yeah, super beer nerds are the guys that get into them all the time.
I've met a couple
Yeah. And
long time ago, but
This is strong.
is it?
the
Oh right, this the six something six three
TBA?
six 6-3. It
Yeah.
says on the can.
This came in late at me. 12-hour shift and a curry as soon as I came home, and then your thing went bing bong, and it told me you were about to go online, Ross. And I thought, I better hurry up then.
Well,
I was already feeling it after the lager, which was 5, and then the other thing was 6. I thought, okay, I'm already feeling the alcohol in this.
See,
And this is kind of just
it's exactly
juicy
the same
IPAs.
show as Hot Ones with Sean with the hot wings, except we're just plying you with alcohol instead of hot sauce.
Mm,
I have another question for
so
Rob
good.
though, as we're slowly because I wanted to wait because you had and I love that you had so much to say about the ones that you had a lot more
Oh, yeah.
handed. And so we can gloss over the TBA, just the fact that Ian and I love it. But I want to ask more of a personal thing, and that was because at the very start, you mentioned your time at Oland, the Oland Brewery, and it had to have been more complicated. This may be a really easy question, but when you mentioned that you were basically packaging and like you were doing running and you're just running stuff back and forth, and then you just quickly said, and then I was just curious about brewing, so I started doing that. And I thought, wait a minute,
yeah.
there's got to be
So-
more. Like, what is the
So,
the process
wanted
within
to-
Olin's? I am just
Yeah, there were a couple of factors there, and I thought my job, I knew it. Probably there were some guys that probably knew it a bit more than me, but I wanted to change. I thought, I don't know about this, and there were some other things there as well. And I thought, and then being in brewing, I thought, okay, it's not. I think I realized by taking that kind of a lateral move to a different department, doing something very different, I thought, now this is revealing one thing that's I think I want to get back to the valley, and
But it was a
and then I-
lateral movement, so you were literally just sort of here are cans and bottles and slap this and put this chunk this there.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I'll try something different. Hey, how's it going in the actually making the beer department? And they're over there shouting the Red Rover thing. Yeah, Rob, come on over and give it a whirl. And you could just do that. And to me,
Well-
that's the confusing part. I am fascinated by that lateral movement because to me that sounds like someone sorting mail in the post office, and you sort. Oh, I'm sick of sorting. And someone says, "Hey, come on over and try driving these big ass trucks around and delivering stuff." And you're like, "Yeah, all right."
So I don't know. It was one of those. Okay, I'm making the same amount. I'm trying something different. I wanted to learn something new. I thought, hey, brewing would be pretty exciting, and then I realized, you know what? I think of all these things, I want to get back to the valley. I had and I had some reasons. I was getting tired of shift work. Shift work was pretty tough. We were doing and also too, I had two good buddies of mine that moved back around that time to the valley, and I thought, there's enough reasons there to, and then so I kind of applied for Paddy's, and I thought, okay, this is a way that I can get back to Wolfville and still do something I love doing. Just I need a different scene to do it, and it was a drastic change. Oh my goodness, it's
But there was brewing at Olin's though.
Yeah,
in
there was.
the department, but like you said, it was mostly just sort of everything was very computerized, very large
So,
scale. So
it
you
was-
go
it
by
was.
and you just kind of read things on a wall, and it says that's at 120, that's fine. That's at 2, that's fine. That's at 6. Oh, that should be a 7. And you just kind of adjust some sort of knob and say, "Yay, I'm brewing large scale." Was that it? Like the move
Some
to
of it too, but I think I went a little bit too. It was almost like the teeter totter, right? It was like, okay, it's the you're you go from one end to the other. It's just all you've done is just moved to the other. But it was, and you think, oh well. So I mean, I went from a place where almost everything was automated, and I was making huge amounts of beer at a time, and now I go down to Paddy's, which our kettle again is 40 times smaller. We're doing so many less batches. Our canner is 1,000th the capability,
Yeah.
the one there, and going from a massive a place where we had because the packaging teams for the bottle line was easily in the dozens, and the can line was, I think it was 5 or 6 or something like that. But and then I
Because
just kind of went.
Olin's did. What was Olin's packaging and brewing actually? Because it's not just a whole factory for Olin's export. There's a lot more going on in there.
Keats and I mean, this is no real secret. It's on the can. They brew Budweiser. It's Labatt Brewing, the Olin Brewery, and they brew Budweiser, and Bud Light and Busch and Keats, Keats Light, Olin Export, Blue. I'm just trying to think.
I know you're saying this is no secret, but this is blowing my mind.
Well, it's on the side of the
I
can.
never knew this.
I had no idea.
Sorry.
There's a local Canadian brewer of.
I'm not saying any trade secrets.
I know you're not, but it's just new to us. That's all. It's
Budweiser brewed by the Labatt Brewing Company, and then it'll list 5 different cities. London, Montreal, Edmonton, Halifax, and St. John's.
The obvious question I have then is, do they all taste different?
Oh yeah, there's different recipes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. So Budweiser then, so they're all using different water for obvious reasons. So there's going to be a difference straight away.
We need to get a private plane and land in 6 different worldwide locations and get a can of Budweiser and compare.
I know.
That's what I want to do now.
But brewers will use, depending upon, well, obviously you can't, you have to have an ale and a lager yeast if you're doing those guys. But I have at Paddy's, I have about, I want to say 2. I think I have I think it's been 2 lager yeasts that I kind of use for depending on things. And ale yeast, I have about 3 or 4 that I like to use, and I'll apply them differently. I don't do. Some breweries do this a lot more, but you repitch, right? You repitch your yeast for that. So after you're done brewing, you'll collect that yeast from that batch, and we'll introduce it to the next one, right?
Okay.
And that's been, I would say normally some places, if you're really, really good, 15, 20 maybe times you can repitch. Some places where you might get 10. I've repitched a couple of times where it's been okay. It's starting to, the yeast, the generation I'm on now is a little old, and I'm starting to taste things different, and I think it's not behaving as a fresh pitch could be. But for that, but a lot of the features too, it'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna use a fresh pitch of this yeast, because this is the one that's gonna behave right for it. But yeah, that's a whole different way to, you got to be able to collect it, very sterile or very clean conditions that you need to do that. You don't want to introduce any bacteria or disease into them, and you don't want to stress them either, right? Yeast can, they can get stressed.
Going back to living creature throwing a live badger at a pile of corn.
So they behave best when they're in wort, and lager yeast like to have colder wort, and ale yeast have to like to have
imagine
nice
someone
wort.
try to reuse yeast after like baking bread. Can you imagine that? There's all the yeast out of that loaf, reusing that again.
Well,
it's going in the second batch.
Sourdough, right? I mean, people make sourdough cultures, right? And then they'll take a little bit of that out and then make some bread with it, and then
but it's not taking it back out of the bread. It's still growing it in the.
It's still growing, but you
Mm.
probably could after you leavened the bread. You could take a little chunk out, and then I don't know.
I'm gonna have to head on out, chaps. But you know what? I've got to score these for Russ's.
Oh, you do? Oh,
very important. Very important.
Top marks for the lager. That's one of the better lagers I've had. That's up there with the Toller, so that's got to be a nines 2.
I was
Okay.
going for about an 8 for that for a bloody good lager, and it was so smooth. It was
It's 'cause you're
crazy
meaner
smooth.
than me.
I just think of that. I'm kind of thinking to myself, the lagers I kind of think about is a Carling Black Label or something really generic in the UK where there's just nothing going on, or an Australian lager like a Foster's or a Castlemaine 4X.
Oh, it's
And
Australian.
then you drink that, and they drink that. People, anyone that drinks that stuff normally, they would drink this and they would say, "Holy crap, there's flavour to it."
Yeah.
And it's not just a crispy, cold piece of a drink of fizzy piss.
Well,
It's actually got some flavour to it.
So
and again, it's not. I guess maybe it's not true in the sense I used a hybrid, but you know, I tried to do something a bit different and turned out nicely, I think. And
You did.
you know, the that being said, one of the hops that I used was a little on the
That's in there,
it
yeah.
was kind of a bag that was just kind of sitting in the cellar, and I thought, okay, this is not going to be used.
was this a leftover beer? Was this just kind of what have we
No,
got?
this was some hops that were sitting in the cellar, and I thought, okay, somebody had ordered these for some beer, and they'd use most of the hops, but I thought, okay, well, I'm going to use these guys. I used Holler Tower, and I used some Saz, and then I used this Canadian hop, and I'm not going to divulge it, but it is a Canadian hop that I used for it, and it's pretty easy to fill in the blanks if somebody really wanted to. But for that, and then you know, hop bills are always fun to play with. You know, you get you think, okay, when do I add this? When's the best time to do it? Is if this is an aromatic or a dual purpose, and what's the flavors that this is going to contribute? And if I add it too soon, how bitter is this going to get? I mean, there's calculators that'll kind of tell you, okay, this is going to be, you know, 15 to 20 IBUs if it's, you know, good utilization, and if you've added this time, and that's going to isomerize everything. But for the most part, you know, it's still a sense of, you know, I think Valley Ale, it's easy to taste. AVA is much better, even though it has less hops than TBA. TBA, we add the hops at a later state where, you know, there's, you know, we're not going for bitter. We're going for juicy, right? You know, so, you know, we're not looking at making it a super pucker up kind of thing.
Well, I think it is a lovely juicy IPA, but I also now appreciate a bit of the West Coast pininess to it as well. A drier finish, a slightly bitterer finish. That I do appreciate it now. I know that Ross is going to turn up his nose, but I like a decent middle of the road IPA as well, and I really like that, and I'm giving that a 9. And the Oktoberfest Lager in the middle, that to me was like a really caramelly, full flavored red. To me, it was just so sweet
I
and
use a lot
lovely.
of caramel for that.
Yeah,
The thing that
and that's an 8.8 as well.
I wanted to do something where, again, in Nova Scotia, we have a plethora of big IPAs, you know, and I really, you know, we do not have any beer in the SLC. We do have cider. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. This is Drink NS Dry. It's about beer, but we do have Paddy's does do cider, and we do have one of our ciders in some of the NSLC.
Is Fitz in the NSLC?
Yeah, we have our Crantastic Cranberry Apple Cider, and that is in.
Well, that's good to know.
I believe New Minas has it, but and some of the stores in Halifax possibly. But there is a way, I think you can look it up, which local stores would have it, and that I am not a cider maker. If anything, I'm the assistant to the cider maker, which would be John, the general manager of Paddy's, who has been making cider for a long time. And
love a cider.
Yeah, so I mean, our honey was in the NSLC last year, and I think this year we got another like a listing for it. Was okay. Let's do something like a cranberry. Like another fruit, like a fruity cider, kind of this sort of thing, and it's not terribly sweet. It's quite dry, and it's got sort of that cranberry just kind of bite to it, real cranberryness to it. But yeah, so we don't have our beer in there. I personally, brewer hat off, and Nova Scotia consumer of beer hat on. I would really want to see us do a lot different stuff, because you could go up there and I can fill my cart with IPAs, really bitter beers, and
Yeah.
they're everywhere, and we need to see something a little bit different. We should try branching out.
Christmas is here, and the Christmas beers are kind of in there, and you get the all lit up is a little different from the double chocolate stout, but they do kind of do the winter beers, sort of. We're out of sour territory. We're out of session IPA territory. There's all the summer favorites are there, and honestly, the weird thing about it is that I feel that the winter beers don't quite make their way to the NSLC as well as the summer ones do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I'm the brewer right now, but when Brian Fitzgerald wanted to start Paddy's at the brew pub, it was more the case of, we just want good beer. We don't need to, we just want to have good beer at the time, and I'll keep making that. I'm not gonna go way too crazy out there, and I think all brewers kind of land on a certain thing they can do really well, and they're consistent with, and it just kind of happens. I don't really know quite what that is for me yet, but it leans towards, okay, I don't go a little crazy with the hops. I try to just make not vanilla, but just a very very nice malty, usually ales. I mean, I think the red recipe that I had, that I was very, very happy with. And I thought that was the first recipe I did on my own. The Dortmunder, Chris Stewart, previous lead brewer here, gave me a lot of help. In fact, it's his recipe, I would say,
okay.
For that. But the red ale that I did back in the spring, and the Octoberfest, and the Paddy's Lager, those are kind of all my little contributions.
I would recommend next year looking into the Canadian Brewing Awards. It's mostly attended by some of the larger ones, and occasionally you see some of the smaller ones. Boxing Rock did really well one year. They got, I think, didn't they get Brewery of the Year, or was that? Yeah, that's Boxing Rock.
Champion Beer of the Year.
So if you look into that and manage to get one or two, because on all three of these, and I know two of them are your. I don't think it's outside the realm to say brainchild, but the two of these would be your submission of an original recipe that you came up with, and I think honestly that Octoberfest and the Lager they should get there. I think they're worthy of submission.
The only other thing that I've seen similar to that out, Nine Locks makes a Vienna Lager, and as well, and but you don't see these kind of things out there, at least on the local scene. And I always like to say, okay, why not try something a bit different? And the consumer's gonna tell you what they want. And I guess maybe I should just zip my mouth now, because the consumer's obviously saying, we want massive hoppy IPAs, and that's what we're doing as craft brewers. But part of me is like, oh, what about the other guys? Beer is so complex. There's so many styles. There's so much going on. It's beverages.
The thing that I appreciate, Paddy's been around for a long time. I've been going there and getting the beers for a while, and there's the fleet. These are the standards, and they're all there, and you can get them. And I'm always intrigued by the feature beer. So I'm one of those people that are like, what's rotating? What's the feature beer? What's going on right now? And I love that. I love that you can produce both your fleet of what's always there. The standards are always there. The kind of, because what I call, okay, so have we had this conversation, Ian, about difference between locals, like village locals in towns, and what I now call, there's something beyond locals that is a relic, where you are literally a walking fossil within the town. You have been there longer than the town has actually been a town. So
Mhm.
the locals, the relics, the fossils, they all come in and they want. I've been having this beer. I've been having this beer for 170 years, and I want to keep
Yeah.
having that.
Yeah.
And you supply that. But there's people that sort of say, "Ooh, what's new?" And Ian and I are those people. We come in and we're like, "Ooh, that's a different thing I've never heard of. Bring it on!" And we're always curious about that.
And that is one of those things where I'm gonna continue to try making beers that okay, I'm not gonna go way out there. And I always worry about, oh geez, at one point I had what was it? I had an imperial stout, I had a stout, I had a red ale, and then I had Raven. And then I was thinking, oh, what if we did a porter? And then I realized that's half our
It's a
taps.
lot of darks, yeah.
Half our
I'd
taps
love it,
are,
but
So would
dark
I.
malty beers. I can't do that.
mm,
I'm just that's wrong to do that. Once the imperial
Rob,
stout.
I'm going to have to bail because
Oh yeah,
nature
I
and
know.
age is starting to
yes,
It's
take
true.
its
It's
toll
true. It's
on
true.
me.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you. I'm
We,
going to have to bail right now.
all
Good
right.
night. I'm out of here.
wrap this up.
We've
Yeah,
we've had a night or two where Rob and I just sort of find ourselves at the bar, just started talking and continuing to talk, and we could definitely talk for a very, very long
I'm a
time.
talk.
Oh yeah.
Kissed the Barney Stone twice as a kid. That's what I think.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I want to thank Rob for being here tonight, and I want to thank Ian for being my co-host and these delicious beers. Usually I thank the brewer, but you're right there, so you're right there. You can find our podcast and all the podcasty places. You can check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/@drinknsdry. We're also drinknsdry on the Instagram and TikTok. YouTube I already mentioned, but beyond that, you can go straight to the source at drinkns.unsupervised.beer. So, and we're here every week, 8 p.m. on our YouTube page live. So, thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week. Good night.